Dear Mr. Fiennes, thank you so much for being here again.
Thank you.
Here.
Thank you for having me back.
I was very touched by the movie, The White Crow, because of the way you showed culture. You portrayed culture like you would someone you love. Could this be said that you are in love with culture yourself?
Well, artistic expression has always been an instinctive area for me. My mother was an artist. She took me to the first theatre and film experience. So all of us, I'm the eldest of six, I'm one of six, we all had access to painting materials. And I suppose that sits deep inside all of us, all my brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And I think I've come to feel more and more as I get older that with all the madness in the world, the one unifying element that can sometimes bring people together is a shared experience connected to art or culture, be it a painting or a play or a film or a discussion about a book. And I think these are the way our collective imaginations can link through shared experience of art is something that has continuing sort of value. It's like it can help us. It's important to me. Yeah.
There is this scene in the movie when Nureyev first goes to the theatre. Do you remember your first encounter with something that touched you that deeply? Like maybe theatre or some artistic experience that you had as a child?
Yes. Well, the first thing to say is that Nureyev himself talked about this moment. He remembered it very vividly. And so when the first time I read his description of being taken to the theatre by the mother and squeezing in and not enough tickets, and the mother determined to take her children to the ballet. And he remembers this light. And that struck me. I don't have the same experience, but I do remember being taken to the theatre when I was very young. And I can still remember being taken to see Peter Pan and Treasure Island, which is, I don't know, you must have, do you have Treasure?
Yes, of course. Yeah, we know very well.
My grandfather, he gave me, in fact, my very first special experiences in the theatre. He took me to see this Treasure Island, which I can still remember. And later on, when I was a teenager, he took me to Stratford-on-Avon to see the Royal Shakespeare Company. And he took me to my first opera, which is to see Don Giovanni at the Royal Opera House in Covent Garden.
You have to have something special in yourself that responds to these experiences. Nureyev, he was from a very poor family, but somehow he was equal to, let's say, you in his longing for culture.
But that's what's so amazing about the individual spirit that is in a young Nureyev, for any young girl or boy who does not have access to sophisticated education. So it's amazing, because I think all throughout the world there are young people who have this experience, and inside them something opens up and they recognize some other life of the mind or life of the spirit. And it's one of the great beautiful, there are so many ugly things about humankind, but this is one of the most beautiful things, is that there's this potential for the imagination to come out and to respond and then create. And it moved me when I read the accounts of this boy, of young Nureyev, going to the Hermitage and then going, of course, as we show in the film, to the Louvre Museum. Hungry for other stimulation. I think he had this hunger for art, and that's a mystery. It's a mysterious thing in certain individuals.
Because, you know, sometimes people are speaking about like social lifts and things like that, yeah? Something that can bring you out and above from where you were born. And I feel that culture can be this thing, can be this lift from wherever to the very top of humanship, of human spirits. But could a person be taught that, or is it just something inside that is already there and just have to be unlocked?
It's a good question. I mean, I think the levels of response in different individuals will be different just because of who we are individually. But I think exposure to art, music, paintings, if you are exposed to that, I think whatever you're exposed to as a child influences you. My mother was believed that you should, in the best sense, expose children to all kinds of stimulation, and then they will find the thing inside them that they need to follow. I think she had this idea that the more a child can be stimulated, then the potential for an evolved and developed thinking, sensitive, alert, curious, kind spirit. You know, the art is a reflection of our human complication, our human pain and aspiration. And I think the more that a child is, even in the simplest versions, in Treasure Island, for example,
yeah,
we're still exposed to moral dilemmas. You know, when I was at school, the artists were always a smaller group. Like, they're the art room, or the actors, the smaller group, you know. They're the funny people who want to paint or get on stage. They're interesting, but they're not... the force of the education...
The white crows.
Yeah, exactly, the white crows, exactly. So the educational system was not interested. It would say, yes, very good, you did well in the play, but don't take this profession seriously, it's too hard, which is sort of sensible advice. But also, I think there's better advice you can say to a young artist. It's very hard work, it's very difficult, but if that's what you have to do, we're here to help you.
Did you feel, I don't know if you have actually in English language, do you have these words, the white crow, or?
We don't have, we have used to use the word black sheep.
Okay, yeah, that's I know. So you took this as a Russian expression.
Yeah.
That means somebody who is not like others.
That's right.
Yeah. Do you feel yourself, in a way, a white crow?
I have felt that, yes. In fact, well, you picked up on it because because it was the art room experience, and we were the Bielia Varona. We were the yes. I have felt that. Yes. I mean, now that I'm lucky enough to be working with other actors, and so I mean, but when you're at school, I think I never was very good at sports.
Yeah.
I was never. There's two versions. There's how you feel inside, and how the world. Sometimes you can feel. Everyone can feel like a white crow.
Yeah.
And then, or the other version is the world decides that you are one. I don't know.
But maybe it's not a bad thing to be, in a way, a little bit of a white crow, is it? In the movie, I loved the way you showed through Nureyev's eyes, but actually your eyes, various pieces of art and even Paris as itself, because Paris is quite a piece of art in itself, which strikes today when we had this tragedy of Notre Dame burning down. Do you feel that something is happening to this European culture? And do you think that culture can save us, can be a remedy in some way?
You ask very big questions. Well, I can only tell you I felt very upset when I read about Notre Dame. I felt very emotional. And I asked myself why. I'm having breakfast, reading the news is on, and I'm crying. And I thought, why am I so emotional? I'm not French, I don't live in Paris. Why is it? And I suppose I was trying to think that this is a symbol, this church, called Our Lady. So it has a strong maternal symbolism. And it's very old. And I felt the world is in a very perilous place, I think, politically uncertain, institutions that we have believed in. So when this ancient symbol suddenly is burning, one emotionally makes a connection that it's a sign. It may not be a sign, maybe an electrical wire.
But somehow
overheated.
it feels like a sign, doesn't it?
It does feel like a sign.
That's what came to my mind. And I remembered that John Donne, I don't remember this poem now, but, you know, this word, the person is not an island, it's a continent, and don't ask for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. Like you said, we are not Frenchmen, but we felt like it's our cathedral that's being burned down.
And it's Notre Dame, it's Our Lady, so it's like the mother is weeping.
Yeah.
It's like the mother is weeping for us, saying, as if there is some, almost a plea for us, humankind, to come to its senses.
The other thing that touched me is the painting in Hermitage, the Prodigal Son. Because when I saw it, I remember my emotion. I was so deeply touched. I burst into tears. And I don't know why, because I never was a prodigal daughter, I never lost my parents, I never came back to them. I don't know why or what has touched me so deeply.
Exactly.
But it was amazing that you picked this picture and you showed exactly my emotion. Even though Nureyev is not crying, but it was very close to what I felt. What did you feel when it's, because it has to do with...
It's interesting you asked that, because from the start I really felt that these moments of this young boy encountering these paintings and works of art were very important. I just felt I understand that, and I know that's important. I can't explain, but it's as important as seeing him practice this thing. But I think I went to the Hermitage before I was doing this film and saw that, and had a similar response to yourself, to that painting. Because it's about infinite forgiveness, isn't it? It's about the parents' hands on us saying, whatever, I love you. Whatever you do.
Don't do this, I'm going to cry.
That's a huge thing, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And that's why I focused on the hands, because the hands are saying that. Yeah, it's very moving, because that love that has no boundary is a huge thing. It's impossible to put words into, but when it's there,
somehow it
touches us so deep.
Yeah.
But we're all lost people, but the hands of the parent that says, it's okay. That whatever you've done doesn't matter. I love you. Is he?
How could he portray that?
Rembrandt.
Yeah.
Rembrandt.
But you as well.
I have to say, that was an amazing thanks, because, you know, the Hermitage didn't want any other films.
Yeah, I know. I was amazed,
and Professor Piotrowski gave us permission, which I'm deeply grateful for. He said, because you are portraying a great artist, Nureyev, and because you are focusing on a specific painting, then I will consider your request. And he kindly gave us permission. I'll never forget, we had 2 extraordinary days. We had many extraordinary days, but the day in the Hermitage and the day in the Louvre were both days when the museums were closed. And to be in the Rembrandt room of the Hermitage, no one there, to have that painting just for us, it was an extraordinary experience, just to have that. And the same with the room in the Louvre.
Yeah.
And the Louvre was empty, so we had the Jericho. Around the corner, in the other room, was the Mona Lisa. And I have a lovely assistant, Laura, who was helping. And she said to me, Rafe, look, if you go round the corner, you can see the Mona Lisa. There's no one there. So I went round into the other room, and there was a Mona Lisa, and no one is there.
What did you feel? How does it feel to see it without anybody around you?
Well, it's a funny painting, isn't it? Because it's a beautiful. She's very enigmatic, and there's sort of more, the pressure on the painting by the world is. I mean, it's like she's saying. It's like she's looking at us, going, "I'm quite a good painting. I'm not sure I'm the greatest painting in the world, but I'm very happy that you're all coming to look at me." There's a sort of mischievous smile in her face.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting? I very much like the movie that you've made with Coen Brothers. It's like your humorous part, which I love. You play Lawrence, very funnily, but Coen Brothers, they had this very, I don't know, not very complimentary opinion on actors in this movie. Actors are all very stupid, but at the end, when it translates on film, it moves us. So I think that's the way with Mona Lisa in a way as well. You know, with all the fuss about it, you know, there is something that really can catch you, something that Leonardo put in.
There's something in her face, isn't it?
Yeah.
Her look. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's caught some moment of expression.
Итак, все это не так прозаично.
Все это не...
Руку убрал. Все это не так прозаично. Игриво.
Все это не так прозаично, игриво.
Не говори игриво, а сам говори игриво.
Все это не так Все это не так...
Все это не так
прозаично.
Все это не так прозаично.
Все это не так прозаично. Все это не так...
Все это не так прозаично.
Все это не так...
Все это не так прозаично. С горечью. Все это не так прозаично.
Кажется, Аллегра не придет. Боже, какая досада. Но я сыграю с вами в бридж. Не огорчайтесь.
Все не так просто.
Speaking of dancing, you've done an amazing dance in the movie The Big Splash.
Bigger Splash.
Yeah. I loved it very much.
Good.
Yeah, it is good. Did you enjoy doing it? I think you did.
I had a great time. I mean, I worked with this lady who helped me be a bit as loose as possible in my limbs. But I was allowed to sort of let myself go, not just in the dance, but in the character.
Was it improvisation in a way, or it was just all set by...
It was interesting because it wasn't choreographed at all, but I think by working with this lady, choreographer, Annie, just then a sort of shape came to it. It was half improvised, but where we shot it and how I moved, and I can't remember now, but it was.
Do you dance?
No, I don't dance.
Never? You don't like turn on the music and dance to it? Ever? Do you?
I have done that. Yes, I have.
Do you still?
I haven't actually. I did. I'm filming a film at the moment, and sometimes I get quite. It's long days, and you're waiting, and there's pressure, and you go a bit. We call stir crazy because you're waiting, and then suddenly you do your scene, and you wait, and then you.
Yeah.
And for many weeks, you get a little bit. So I do then. When no one is looking.
I wish I could look at it.
It's a good release, music.
Do you feel this liberation? Because your character, Alexander Pushkin...
Ivanovich.
Pushkin, he was saying, not only in the movie, because he's a very famous teacher, actually. He taught Baryshnikov, not only in Nureyev. He was speaking about the liberation that dance gives you, and that Nureyev, in his longing for freedom, I think dance, in a way, was his way to liberate himself.
Yes.
So did you feel this in doing your own dance, that somehow it magically liberates you?
Well, yes. I mean, funnily enough, it's interesting, but David Hare wrote this scene with Pushkin, Ivanovich Pushkin. Yeah.
Alexander.
As Alexander Ivanovich Pushkin. Yeah. saying technique and correct movement isn't the reason you dance. It's the thing you are saying, the story that you have, the thing in you that you carry that you need to say. That's your story. Dance is an expression without words, isn't it? So it's the thing in you that you need to say. I don't want to. I mean, my Bigger Splash thing, which is a messy affair of someone shaking their limbs about, not to be compared, obviously, but it was interesting that I remember Anne saying she encouraged me to explore, to not be inhibited, and that was, in a way, I felt that was in some ways that's I'm allowed to tell my story in whatever weird things I'm doing, and I think movement for dance is a great release for people. They don't have to be ballet dancers. But I think we all know how great it is to dance.
Yes.
How it's a great release of something inside us, and it can be a joyful thing. And so, yes, I enjoyed that Bigger Splash. It was.
You've said that we discover something in ourselves, that it's not like a story that we have to tell that is like some plot. It's a story of our spirit, of our soul.
That's right. That's right.
Could this be said of Shakespeare? Because when you speak the words of Shakespeare, you kind of tell your story with these words.
Yes. Well, first of all, I think every actor, the journey for the actor is possibly similar to what Pushkin is saying in the film. I feel often as young actors you strive to shine or show your versatility, or there's an actor, like a dancer, can develop skills of physical, vocal expression. But I know I've seen impressive performances that have impressed me, but have not touched me. And I can think it's possible to be impressed by an actor, comic timing or big emotions, but somehow you go, it's very impressive, but what? And then you can see very simple performances when someone's not really doing much. In fact, they're not acting. And suddenly you feel a truth to do with the truth, the story, the spirit, the thing and I think that's the thing to hold on to, which is your deeper connection to the part. And I've puzzled over this because I think as a younger actor I sort of wanted to prove myself in different parts, and now I think more and more that I want to feel a connection with the part, something, and it's not about playing yourself. But I know that Harry in Bigger Splash, it was exciting for me to play because it's not this uninhibited guy who speaks a lot, is irritating. I don't think that's my normal mode of behaviour.
Not at all.
But I know there's an inner Harry in there. I know so I love this. This is all the bit of me that is a bit of me that wants to be like this, that feels that I want to, shake up the room with something provocative, and so I could make a connection myself, and that's the sort. And so I felt I could make Harry my own, and I had some great lines in it that the writer had for Harry, which is, "We're all obscene, all of us." And that's what makes us human. That once we understand that. But I think I liked Harry has an honesty, which I liked.
I was just going to ask about Anthony that you played, and I loved how you played Anthony.
You
Actually,
saw that.
I saw that, and I never liked this particular play of Shakespeare. I never actually got it very well, because I think you really have to see Shakespeare on stage, not read it. But
Yeah,
maybe,
that's true.
yeah.
I think that.
And I loved the way you played Anthony. And I was just going to ask whether you connect to these, because I read in one of the interviews, like readers asked you questions and they asked you what you see in the mirror, and you said that you see it, sorry, your words, decaying flesh.
Yes, I remember that.
That's a very Shakespearean word, so explaining, describing this state. But Anthony is actually the decaying flesh himself.
He is.
not
Anthony.
Decaying flesh and spirit. And
Anthony is a man past his prime.
yeah,
Anthony is on the descending slopes of life, and he's a high achiever who's sort of losing. And I found it's a fantastic role that Shakespeare's written. You know your youth is behind you. And Anthony's recognition of loss is so brilliantly written by Shakespeare. Yes, he is someone in denial about his masculinity is sort of, and yet he feels it. He feels he's still, as they say, we still got it. But actually he's got a huge ego, but he's also very kind. He's known for his generosity. So the mix of sort of male narcissism, kindness, a love of life, a huge heart, fantastic, sort of rich. And Shakespeare's very honest. Was Shakespeare like Chekhov? I mean, they're brilliant at showing us all our flaws. And that's why I think they're very moving, is that with compassion, Shakespeare and Chekhov show us the mess that we are. But they're a bit like our father in The Prodigal Son. These great writers, they are loving, you know. They sort of put their hands on us and say, we know that you're a mess, but we love you.
it's okay. Yeah. How do you personally, and how can we cope with this feeling that the youth parts, that the descending slope is somewhere nearby? Not that you are on it, but...
Oh, I am.
No. No, but actually you are at the very, very nice time of your career, and you know that. I will not be like saying this comforting things to you, you know this. How do you cope with it?
Oh, God. Look, I'm very lucky. I have amazing things that I'm asked to do with amazing people. So I'm... of course, I might indulge some sense of, I don't know what, you know. I mean, we're talking about Anthony and getting older. I mean, I feel that I am surrounded by wonderful people and opportunities that are full of sort of creative energy. And so, I mean, everyone's going through life, and you go through life and you recognize you're getting older, and of course your parents die, and people, you know, you see as you get older, I think you become aware of your mortality. You see somewhere out there death is coming to you. And so, I mean, if you're an actor or a director, we're very lucky that we can be in a profession that allows us to explore these things, which is sort of a kind of a privilege, really, that you can be in a Chekhov play, and the very big questions that you're asking me now, in that play, the writer examines, and that's an amazing. I think that's why people go to be in a profession where you're involved in the making of these things, even if you're examining difficult, upsetting, disturbing things in life. The work process can be life-giving.
All is lost. This foul Egyptian hath betrayed me. My fleet hath yielded to the foe, and yonder they cast their caps up and carouse together, like friends long lost. Triple-turned whore, 'tis thou hast sold me to this novice, and my heart makes only wars on thee. Bid them all fly, for when I am revenged upon my charm, I've done all. Bid them all fly, be gone. Oh, son, thy uprise shall I see no more. Fortune and Antony part here, even here do we shake hands. All come to this.
I don't know if Shakespeare thought of it, but it appeared to me that Antony and Cleopatra could be called Romeo and Juliet for the people who lived their life. Especially because the director did this prologue, which there is no prologue in
No,
the
he
Shakespeare
gave a
play.
sort of,
He kind of took the ends and
That's right.
repeated it
That's
in
right.
the beginning.
That's right.
And by doing so, he did this, fate thing,
Yeah.
like everything you are going to see already,
Has happened.
happened and has its ending, just like in Romeo and Juliet. So it appeared to me that in a way, that's the deep love, like Romeo and Juliet's, but for people who already had lived their lives with all the egos. And that was very interesting. And that's what you made me discover by, your very good portrayal of a love story in this play as well.
I think that's the one thing, if we're talking about that, is the huge erotic connection between Antony and Cleopatra, where yes, it's love, but it's eros. That's why I'm sure there's no accident that Antony's servant is Eros, and Antony calls that Eros, Eros. Shakespeare has him say, call for Eros, the god of erotic love. And I think that's also, and that's different from Romeo and Juliet, which I think is two young people who have some very youthful, innocent attraction, where the sexual element is sort of glanced at, but it's like adolescent infatuation. But I think Antony and Cleopatra, it's heady, what we call heady, like drugs, like the drug of desire. I don't know that it's, they're both got big egos and sort of kind of vanities, but I think they have this, I've always thought they've had this huge erotic connection, which is not, love and Eros are together, but it's earthed. It's earthed within their physical connection. It's not a sort of transcendent, it's not a great, there's spirituality perhaps in it, but I think it's so of the earth, so of the flesh, so immediate, it's an intoxication.
You did know how much you were my conqueror, and that my sword, made weak by my affection, would obey it on all cause.
Pardon! Pardon!
Oh, fall not a tear, I say. One of them rates all that's won and lost. Just give me a kiss. Even this repays me. We sent our schoolmaster. Has he come back? Love. I'm full of lead.
When you were here last time, we talked about love, and you told me that you don't believe in love, in a person who is there for you, and you find him or her. And you still don't believe in that, that there is this special person for all of us.
Well, I think there is for some people. I think for some people, they look for and sometimes find another person who answers something in them, and it's the love between two people that is very strong and very moving. I don't think it's a huge people go into therapy to answer questions like this. All I know is I think, I mean, you can have amazing shared loving experience with other people. I don't necessarily believe that that person is there for all your life. I think some people aren't made to have one continuous loving partner all their lives. Maybe they can have one or two or three. And I think that, the deepest, I mean, I don't know, if we're talking about if I have a jury inside me about this question, the jury is out. Still deciding.
We can wait for them to return to the courtroom for the next time you will be coming to this studio.
Look, I can tell you, is my parents, they had a very strong connection. So I grew up, certainly as a young child, witnessing a very strong bond between two people. And I am very moved when I see, say, friends who are family friends, say, who are together, and you see a very strong, deep connection between two people. But I don't look at that as a benchmark as to how relationships should be. Love shared between people is not always about relationship. You can have friendships that are full of love, and they needn't be about marriage or commitment. They can be. So I think, love is bigger than we know. And I think the danger is we sort of want to put it into shapes that we think we can control. And I think, trying not to hurt people is something that we fail to do, and I've failed to do, but I think that's the thing that it's good to kind of go, well, I made these mistakes, or this love happened to me, and then it didn't happen. But then, I think there's there's two areas. There's the big love. There's the love that can run through all of us, and we're challenged. We're challenged to find this, because we're full of things that are not loving. Things that are motivated by ambition and ego and negativity and destructiveness, and I think the best writer for this is Dostoevsky. For these deep conflicts and fallibilities in people, he's the guy who has compassion, but he portrays the violent messiness of
The end, it's always this prodigal son thing in Dostoevsky. At the end, you always feel like he's kind of hugging you and telling you that no matter what happened, and it's like, as you said, like the deepest fail of humanity. But at the end, I think that maybe love is this prodigal
I
son
think love,
thing.
that's what I would agree with, that it's more about that.
Yeah.
That's the sort of love that I can understand.